There are some buildings in the world that need no introduction. The Flavian Amphitheater or Colosseo is one of them. It is one of the most recognizable landmarks in the world. It stands in the center of Rome, and if we say that all ways lead to Rome, all the Roman ways lead to the Colosseo. In this second video of sections 5 and 6 of Unit 6, we are going to start seeing the Flavian Amphitheater, or also known as Colosseo, as we have seen in the video before. This typology of leisure activities buildings, we have already mentioned the theaters, and the Colosseo is an amphitheater. What is an amphitheater? An amphitheater are like two theaters put together. If you see from any amphitheater from above, you are going to see that it looks more or less like an oval. What was the use of the amphitheaters? Generally for gladiators, animal fights, and naval combats. That is, there are no chariot races, as we are going to see in the next typology of building. The Colosseo, built in the 1st century AD, is the most famous example, and here we have the inside with a capacity of about 50,000 people. It is a model for future public spectacle buildings such as football stadia or concert halls. This is a reconstruction of how it would have been looked in the inside, and we see how it was. The floor was covered by wooden tables, and then with sand for the fights. In some cases, even they will take everything off and fill it with water in order to do naval battles. That is, battles with ships, what is known in Spanish as naumaquias. This is a reconstruction, and one of the things we can see is this sort of fabrics here in order to cover from the sun. Why is the Colosseo so distracted? Because the Romans used the building, the marble, for example, in order to build other stuff in the city, such as, for example, St. Peter's Basilica in the 16th and 17th centuries. Other examples of amphitheaters are the amphitheater of Pula in Croatia and the amphitheater of Pompey in Italy. In addition to that, for example, we also have amphitheaters in Segóbriga or Mérida. The next typology of buildings is the circus, that was used for chariot racing, as you can see in famous films such as Ben-Hur and also Asterix. And the shape of this stadium and this typology is based on the Greek stadia. As you can remember, Greek stadia had a U shape, and they were used for just races, human races. In this case, this rectangular shape with a curved end has a central spine, as it is called, the spina, with monuments and, for example, an obelisk, and was used for quadrigae, that is, chariots with 4 horses. This is a reconstruction of how the Circus Maximus in Rome will have looked like, and this is the actual state of the place. It was huge. It hosted more than 100,000 people. Another type of buildings are the thermal baths, and it is divided into different rooms: the caldarium, the frigidarium, and the tepidarium. Caldarium with warm water, frigidarium with cold water, and tepidarium with mild water. They were really important buildings for Roman social life, and in this picture what we have are the Roman baths in the city of Bath, United Kingdom. In the city of Rome, the most important ones are the baths of Diocletian. This is the example of the frigidarium that was reconstructed during the Renaissance by Michelangelo Buonarroti, the author of the Sistine Chapel. What we have here, what we can perceive, is the importance of the size of the building again. It showed power. And now it is turned into a church, by the way. The next typology of buildings are commemorative buildings, which generally are used for remembering and celebrating military victories. We have 2 typologies in Roman architecture: the columns, commemorative columns, and commemorative arches. The first of them is we have in the picture the Trajan column in the Foro Traiano in central Rome, very close to the Colosseo. And it was built in the 2nd century AD. Trajan was the emperor under which the Roman Empire reached its maximum expansion after he conquered Dacia, modern-day Romania. the shaft of the column, of this commemorative column, and tells the whole story about this military conquest with different scenes. The second type, the commemorative arches, also celebrate military victories. And for example, right next to the Colosseo, there's the Arch of Constantine, the Arch of Constantine the Great, Constantine I, built in the 4th century AD after a battle inside Rome in the so-called Ponte Milvio, Milvian Bridge. What is this typology? This typology, for example, is very important in the future because many emperors and powerful figures have used this typology in order to celebrate, for example, the Arc de l'Étoile in Paris, or even the Arco de la Victoria in Moncloa, that was built during Franco's dictatorship for celebrating the fascist victory in the Civil War. Public works were used for making life easier and more comfortable. They are mostly focused on engineering, as we saw at the beginning of the video in part 1 of the section of art. The first examples are the roads that we have already mentioned in the section of economy that cross the whole empire, and this is an example of how the Via Appia, right outside Rome, looks right now. They were super important for trading activities and for military action. Aqueducts were built for transporting water. Here we have probably the most important aqueduct built during Roman times that is still preserved, the Aqueducto de Segovia in Segovia, that probably you all know. And the maximum height it reaches in the central pit is about 30 meters. The arches, semicircular arches that we see, expand for nearly a kilometer, but the whole system of the aqueduct lasts for 17 kilometers. This is the central part, and as an anecdote, just to say that it was in use until the 1970s, that is about 45 years ago. It stopped giving water to central Segovia because of reasons of preservation. Other aqueducts are the Aqueducto de los Milagros in Mérida in Spain, and also the Pont du Gard in France over the Gard River. For saving also different heights and saving rivers and valleys, they also built bridges, such as the Puente de Alcántara in Cáceres and the Milvian Bridge in Rome, the one we have mentioned of the Battle of Constantine the Great. Roman sculpture, 6.2. The main characteristics of Roman sculpture are that they have a massive Greek influence. We have already seen the importance of Greeks in many fields of Roman life, how, for example, they adopted the Greek pantheon, and they also took the base for art, as we have also seen in architecture. In general, Roman sculpture is very realistic, even though we are going to see the different evolution depending on the periods. There are lots of different types of sculpture. Also, we have to take into account the duration of the Roman civilization and the different typologies of buildings, and sculpture was used in many cases for decorating these buildings. There are portraits that can be of the whole body, equestrian, that is on a horse, or busts that are mostly the head and shoulders, and also historical reliefs in these monumental buildings. If we see the characteristics, we can trace that during the Republic is more realistic. During the High Empire, we have to take into account that the emperors are considered divine, therefore the representations are going to be idealized. And during the Lower Empire, that is mostly in the 4th and 5th centuries, the portraits are going to be rigid and less idealized and less expressive. There are two basic examples of Augustus Prima Porta with military clothing, and Augustus Pontifex Maximus, that is as a main priest. These are examples of idealized representation in Roman architecture. One of the most important characteristics is the armor that Augustus is wearing. These, if you can remember Greek architecture, they use the same idea of feet separated from one before the other with something, in this case, for example, this baby sort of thing, and here a truck holding the sculpture. Generally done on marble. They also did some sculptures in bronze, and in general they were polychrome, that is, they were complete with colors. This is the portrait, the equestrian portrait of Emperor Marcus Aurelius. This is not the original sculpture because it's in a museum, but it was located in one of the main squares in Rome, where the town hall is, in the center. This is going to be the model for all equestrian sculptures in the future. For example, if you visit the Plaza Mayor in Madrid and you see the sculpture of Felipe III, you are going to see this reference. And then in the reference of Felipe IV in the Plaza Oriente, right in front of Palacio Real. In the historical reliefs, we are going to relate with commemorative monuments, and the most important of them is the Ara Pacis. That is the altar of peace that was built during Augustus' empireship, and it is also in Rome. They expressed relevant episodes of Roman history, even with main characters such as, for example, Julius Caesar, some priests, some consuls, etc., and also decorated with vegetable motifs. This is, for example, some people that are here, such as Agrippa, Tiberio, that is also an emperor, Germanico, Dominicio, etc. And this is how it looks like. It is a procession. It's a religious procession in order to find peace. These are another two examples of the view. These are the consuls with the laurel crowns and some vegetable motifs. And we have to go on Marcus Aurelius' column, also narrating military victories. We see how there is a spiral, and that spiral is used for the developing the story. In the column, Trajan's column, or Colonna Traiana, as it is in Italian, we see different scenes. It is considered the most important example. And here, for example, we see how they are shipping all the foodstuffs and all the things required into the boats. And here, how it disembarks, and Trajan, leading the armies, is before the cavalry. In other art forms, we are going to see painting and mosaics, and painting was used for decorating buildings, the walls of buildings. Most of the examples we are going to see are in Pompeii, in the city of Pompeii, near Naples, and also in the Palatine Hill in Rome. They use polychrome paintings, that is with different colors, and they represent daily scenes, mythology, imaginary landscape, portraits, architectural features, etc., etc., etc. The mosaics are used, as we saw in architecture, for decorating the floor, and they are formed by a small tessere, that is these small pieces of ceramics that form an image. They use geometrical designs, as we have here in the bottom of the page, and also mythological, such as the Gorgon here, floral, and daily scenes. Thanks for watching.